What a joyful way to start our service with such beautiful, heart-opening music. Gracias to the two of you. And I have my mug to remind me to be joyful with the Peanuts characters, if you can't see it. I like props. Well, I am delighted to be here. Aloha, buenos dias, welcome, hello. There is no place I would rather be than right here with each of you in this beautiful setting at Unity of Dallas. We are here to create some joy today. I brought along a gift that was included in your bulletin for each of you, and we'll reference that in a few minutes. But it's just a small token of my gratitude and my love and an expression of my joy for being here with you today. So let's just take a moment to breathe and just breathe in the love, breathe in the joy and all that we are creating in this moment, all that we are calling forth to help us navigate through the next week or so as we close out 2015 and move into 2016. Any of you having any slight tinges of trepidation about what may happen before 2015 closes? Just a tinge? I know I do. And yet I know and claim that it's all good, that it's all in divine order, that the beauty and joy and love of these holy days is flowing in and through and as me. You know, holidays call forth such joyful memories, and sometimes a few that have a little bit of a sting or an ouch still attached. But think about it. In a few years or maybe in a decade, you're going to be looking back on the 2015 holy days. And what do you want to create? How do you show up? When you're reflecting back on that memory screen in your brain, what do you want to be remembering? Who are you going to be with? What kind of an expression are you going to have on your face? Hopefully, it's one of joy. So I want to start with a Christmas story. It looks like some of you might have been alive in 1963. Is that right? I was. Those are the joyful notes that we're going to create as we harmonize our energy today. And this is a picture of a tree. And my story is about that tree and also about the house that's behind it that you can't quite see. In November of 1963, my parents and I moved into that house. It was our new house. Any of you remember the excitement of a new house? Well, this was particularly meaningful for me because up until that time, we had been living on the University of Kentucky campus. I know you know that I'm a huge basketball fan if you've been around me much. But in this house, it wasn't always so joyful. We lived in two small rooms on the downstairs floor of the house, and above us lived junior and seniors and upper class men. Wow, yeah. So this is our first home, our real home. But if you've ever had a construction project, it wound up going way over the initial budget. So this Christmas was going to be a little sparse for our family. But my dad instilled in me at that young age the most incredible consciousness of living from that heart of joyfulness. What he did, knowing that we were going to get few presents, was that he wrapped our front door in foil, put a big red bow around the front door, and shone a spotlight on it. So when people drove by, and for us, we knew this was our gift. This was our blessing for that particular Christmas. Now, I did have a few things under the tree, of course. I remember our downstairs was not completed for years, and it was still concrete down there. So I got a pair of brand new roller skates so I could roller skate down on that bottom floor, and that was a lot of fun. But this was my first powerful lesson in joy, because I already knew that we could find that with each other, with our family, with our friends, with the people that meant the most to us. But I also realized that there would be many, many times where in some ways to other people or in our way of thinking, it might not be the most joyful, but we could manufacture that from our hearts by just tuning into the good, what was really important in that moment. So my dad, one of the biggest influences on my life, passed from this earthly plane on December 22nd of 2004. He lives on with me. In my heart, I have so many happy memories, and especially anytime I smell grapefruit. One of our most favorite traditions is sharing grapefruit around the holidays. And he created that house that's lasted more than 50 years now. And it's the home that Russ and I have recently renovated, and that's one of the places that we live when we're not in Dallas. Now, when we moved in that Christmas, we had never had a real live tree before, and my dad wanted to have a tree to help us really get that scent and feel and smell of the holidays. And that is that tree as of October of this year. Now, it has flourished. It has grown and stretched and just expanded its reach. It's also been through some really difficult times. It's experienced ice storms and tornadoes and drought. It's kind of like a metaphor for us. You know, we've been through a lot since 1963 too, haven't we? I mean, I'm not the same person that I was when 2015 started, thank goodness. I'm continuing to grow and change. So when you think about who you are today, and what's made a difference for you, is it what has happened outside of you on the exterior, or is it about what has happened on the inside of you? That's an important thing to ponder over the next few days. So I have an acronym. When you think about joy in the next few days, think about this. J is for jewels. We are abundantly blessed with many jewels, many treasures inside of us. I like to think of those maybe in the context of our 12 powers that Charles Fillmore wrote about in the 12 Powers of Man. All those innate divine qualities that we each possess, that we just can shine up and continue to call forth in greater and greater quantity. The O is for overcoming, because I know that I and you alike have overcome tremendous obstacles and challenges at various points in time. But we trusted and knew that God is good, and that no matter what the appearance, that we can call forth the best and the highest for ourselves and for the people in our lives. And finally, the Y is a yes. And I hope that you will say yes many times to yourself before the end of the year. Yes to self-care. Yes to taking a break. Yes to tuning into your spiritual joy so that you can refresh and rejuvenate. I want to share during the next few minutes a few new thought philosophers from our unity teachings and some other wisdom teachers that have had an influence on me. The first is from French philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who said, "Joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God." Just breathe into that abundance of the divine is always available and accessible to us when we tune into it, when we're willing to allow that presence to flow through us and to be known to us in higher and greater capacity. And from Proverbs, we find, for the happy heart, life is a continual feast. If our hearts are happy, we can feast continuously. Now, this doesn't mean that you can eat everything that people bring to your house for the holiday dinner, necessarily, or maybe it does. But remember that joy is the cause, not the effect of good in our lives. When we are joyful, when we allow our joy to radiate out, that causes a shift both in ourselves and it spreads to everyone around us because there's not room for anything else. So let's look at joy from a unity perspective, from the metaphysical meaning of joy that I found in the Revealing Word, a resource that you may be familiar with from our co-founder, Charles Fillmore. And he says this, that joy is the happiness of God expressed through his perfect idea, man or humans. That is the expression. And the reading continues and it says, joy and gladness are strength-giving. Any of you think you could use a little bit more strength right now to boost you up, to get you through? Especially if the mind is fixed on things of spirit. Okay, so what does that mean? When my mind is fixed on things of spirit, then I am going to continue to allow myself permission to take that time. So, because we can lay hold and use that joy for our benefit. It's a principle that whether outer conditions are favorable or not, we can call it forth. Things are not always going to work out exactly as we want. I mean, I have overcooked my turkey before. I have had relatives show up that I didn't know were coming and came empty-handed, and they weren't at the top of my list. I'm sure you've had challenges too, but we can create that joy no matter what is happening on the outside, in that outside world, when we use the principle of spiritual joy. Prayer and meditation is going to serve you more completely and fully than practically anything else you could do this week. If it's about preparing one more dish or having time for prayer and meditation, I sincerely urge you to consider the quiet, the sanctuary of the silence for renewal. Continuing on, we look at Ernest Holmes, another one of our New Thought writers, leader, teacher, who originated religious science. And he says this, life is not something to be endured, it is to be lived in joy, in a fullness without limit. Don't you like to have no limits? I do. A fullness without limit. That's what's going to inspire us as we move into 2016. And one of the ways that we can do that is to be filled up with gratitude. Now, I haven't watched White Christmas yet this year. Any of you White Christmas fans? There's a little verse in there in one of the songs that talks about counting your blessings instead of sheep, and then you fall asleep, counting your blessings. I love that line. In fact, I did it last night when I was having trouble falling asleep. I tried my tried and true technique, which is to use the alphabet and just go through and find something for each letter of the alphabet that I'm grateful for. I didn't even get to Z before I was sound asleep. So we want to take nothing for granted. We want to be grateful for everything that's a part of who we are and that we express in the world, because we all carry such beauty inside of us. It may be those blue eyes that you have. It may be your uncanny ability to connect with any animal that shows up on your sidewalk and bring inside like I do. or it may be your ability to soothe a crying child. But we all have many things to be grateful for. And when we focus on gratitude, we find that we're living in a continuous state of joy. So joyful living, what does it mean? And this is where this little handout comes in. I think when we're present in the moment and we're open to spirit, we're open to the nudges of spirit, we feel that heart spark. That heart spark. And that's what we want. That's what I want. That's what the people I hear want, more than another gadget, more than a new blender. I certainly would rather have that heart spark, that igniting of a joy. So if you would, just for 1 minute, turn to a person near you and just refresh yourself and share with them what ignites your divine joyfulness. And if you want to, on the inside, it says joyful notes. We're just wanting to call forth that joy. What sparks your divine joyfulness? You have 1 minute to share with a friend. Make a new friend. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I know you could have spent a lot more time in this, but we can carry this conversation out into the hallway and into fellowship hall for a delightful exchange after we get finished here. I heard laughter. I saw people smiling. I heard you all participate. Did anybody come up with at least one thing that brought them that sense of divine joy? Yay. Okay. Make notes and make that your intention to continue to call that forth during the next few weeks. One of my new favorite writers is Henry Nouwen. He's a Dutch Catholic priest and theologian. He wrote extensively. He was very interested in psychology, so we really resonate. But his idea matches very well to the Christmas story. He says, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every single day. So maybe you might want to include that. An affirmation before you go to bed, an affirmation when you wake up. I am joy. I beam joy today. I celebrate my joyful nature, because when we are metaphysically celebrating Christmas, the unity message revolves around the idea that we all have that spark of divine light. When Jesus came, as he was born, he was a radiant, glowing being, and so are we. We all have that divine spark, and we have the opportunity every Christmas to more fully eliminate our spiritual nature. We are giving birth to a new opportunity to be the light, to give more of the light, and to nurture those aspects of ourselves that allow our light to radiate, believing in it, trusting in it, celebrating it. The presence of the divine is within us. So with every choice we make, we can more fully bring it into expression. And as we do that over and again, we create what Jesus referred to as heaven on earth. And that's the biggest gift of all. My favorite 14th century Persian poet Rumi said, when you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy. Sometimes when we are in service to each other, we create that kind of joy. David talked about packing up the kitchen or taking more angel tree cards from the tree. Those are ways that we can serve, and we create that joy that Rumi refers to like a river flowing and moving as we lead with love. And I think that's my number one intention. What I'm going to pay attention to this next few days of the year is leading with love, with my heart open and being present. Rumi also says, my heart, it actually says my head, but I read my heart. Interesting, huh? My head is bursting with joy of the unknown. My heart is expanding 1,000-fold. Now, how many of you are just bursting with joy for the new year? Yeah, good. There's no circumstance, no matter what happens in the unknown. Some people have a little bit of anxiety about the unknown, but it's all good, right? There's no circumstance, no matter what happens, that can cause us to relinquish our joy. Now, I know that you've had life happen this year. I've had a number of significant losses. Others of you are dealing with health challenges or financial issues or whatever, but there is no external circumstance that can cause us to relinquish our joy. You know, when I was a little girl and I would go to funerals, and then we would go afterwards to the gathering of the family, and when people would laugh, I would just be horrified almost. My childlike head was saying, how can they laugh? Something awful's just happened. But as I matured and grew spiritually, I realized that there's joy in every situation. And sometimes we come together with family and people, long-lost relatives, that we haven't seen in eons at those kinds of events. But there's always an awakening, an opportunity for connection. When we share joy and happiness, we give two of the most powerful healing medicines in the world. If somebody said to you, you have two of the most powerful healing medicines in the world, just think, yes, I do. I have happiness and I have joy, and I am willing to share it. So I encourage you as you move through these next few days to spread that joy. You are a vessel. You are a vessel filled with joy. You've always been that expression of God, of the divine. And know that you are being born again to allow that radiating light to touch others. A more heightened spiritual view is always the idea that joy is the cause of happiness rather than the consequence. Start with you. And finally, I want to call your attention back to the card that I provided and an affirmation I'm going to share with you. If you want to look at the bottom little graphic on the back, it says joy, love, peace, believe, Christmas. You can come up with your own I am affirmations to remind you of how you want to show up. But I'm going to say, you are joy. You are love. You are peace. You are a believer. And you are the Christ. And we're going to take that powerful thought into our time of meditation. If you will, just take a deep cleansing breath and get comfortable in your seat, allowing yourself just to settle into that space, to connect with that heart of joy, that radiating joy that flows in and through and as you. And with another breath, we move even deeper into that space, that consciousness where we connect with Source. Allow my voice to be the voice of your own heart. I am joy. I celebrate my divine joyfulness. I open to the wonder, the mystery, the excitement of rebirth. I allow even more of my divine expression to radiate to every person, to every situation. I am a powerful, radiating expression of the Christ. I am light. I am love. I call forth a knowing, an understanding, a believing that every person with whom I connect is also a radiating source of joy, despite how they may initially show up. And I claim my divine blessing. I claim my divine gifts, and I tune in to the sanctuary of the silence whenever I need a respite. With a joyful and grateful heart, I slowly and gently come back to this time and place, feeling refreshed, alive, overflowing with joy. And so it is. Amen.
sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill